From the roar of the crowd to the roar of the engine, this is Pit Pass.
Pit Pass is brought to you by Aaron's of State College on the Benner Pike, by W.R. Hickey Beer Distributor, celebrating 80 years, and by Pocono Raceway, the Tricky Triangle. Here are your hosts, Ron Fox and Jan Miller.
Welcome to Pit Pass. We enjoy bringing you highlights and other aspects of racing. We also bring you news, but sometimes it is sad news, like in this past week.
Yes, Jason Leffler passed away after he suffered injuries during a crash in a heat race at Bridgeport Speedway in New Jersey. Now, Jason, although he raced in NASCAR, had been running in the 410 sprints this season here in central Pennsylvania.
Yes, and we considered him like an adoptive member of the PA posse. He leaves behind his 5-year-old son, Charlie.
Now, to catch up on a little bit of news that we didn't get to pass along last week, Bradford Speedway has returned to racing on Friday nights. With McKean County Raceway running a more regular schedule and many Friday nights, Bradford Speedway switched to Saturdays before the season started, but now will return to their regular Friday night program. On Wednesday, Penn Can Speedway hosted the 4th annual Clash at the Can. Now, before we get on with highlights, I wanted to show you this little clip. During a heat race, Jimmy Phelps found himself in the retention pond in turn 4. He restarted 9th with 9 laps to go in his heat race, yet came back to finish 3rd and transfer to the main event. With 67 cars on hand, it took 7 heat races to determine the field for the main event. And how competitive was it? Well, Frank Cozy, who now runs the 357 modified that Jeff Strunk had so much success with for a number of years, he didn't even make the main field.
Well, here are the highlights for the 60-lap, 5,000 to win Clash at the Can.
The fireworks went off at the start of the race. Would we see some on the track as 31 cars do battle? At the drop of the green, the one of Tyler Dipple edges past pole sitter Mike Goulart through 1 and 2. As they head down the backstretch, Goulart dives low into 3 to challenge Dipple. Behind them, Billy Decker gets turned around, bringing out the caution. Danny Johnson sits on the front stretch with damage that ends his race before it begins. So we restart the race. This time it is Goulart who jumps out to the point as they get up to speed. Dipple makes a move on the high side, but Goulart holds him off and takes the early lead. There were some big-name drivers who started mid-pack. Here the 126 of Dwayne Howard chases Stuart Friesen in the black number 1. Modified legend Jimmy Horton slowed to bring out a caution with only 5 laps completed. On the restart, Goulart again is able to hold off Dipple as they charge into turn 1. On the exit of 2, Dipple rockets to the outside of Goulart, but has to check up as the 53 slides up the track. At this point, the black number 7 of Dale Plank runs 3rd. The 4-star of Jeff Strunk started 21st, but had to be considered one of the favorites to win. Here he chases the 9 of Matt Shepard. Strunk's teammate, Tim McCready, ran around the top 5 early in the race after starting 8th in his twin ride to Strunk's. Up front, Goulart picked up lap money as he led circuit after circuit while working his way through traffic. Strunk's night ended as he goes pit side on lap 22. On the restart, Goulart beats the blue number 2 of Bob Trapper to the line. Trapper works the high line and closes on Goulart, exiting 2. Also in the mix is the 14 of Ryan Watt, who started in the 10th position. As they complete another lap, Trapper trails the 53 by 2 car lengths. It's 3 wide for second through 1 and 2 as Watt is able to take the spot exiting the turn. 4 laps later, Watt powers by Goulart to take the lead. Through 1 and 2, Watt puts some distance between himself and Goulart. We would have a number of cautions during the second half of the race. Each time, Watt was able to pull away from Goulart on the restarts. Here the 151 of Joey Colston runs 3rd with McCready in 4th. Howard methodically inched his way towards the top 5. Here he works to take a position from Colston. Down the stretch, Watt would extend his lead over Goulart on his way to victory in the Clash at the Can. Ryan, congratulations on the win. You used that high side to move up from 10th.
Yeah, the car was really good. I mean, right from the beginning there, the car was a little loose, but it just kept getting better and better and better. You know, I just kept working the top. They were too wide in front of me. I had to take my time. I knew the first 10 laps we had a real good car there, so just wanted to be patient, make sure we didn't get caught up in something, you know, that wasn't going to get us there to the end.
And now you've ran just some special events here before. What's the difference between then and now that here you are in Victory Lane?
You know, we keep making changes every time we come up here. Actually, it's the same car we ran here last year, same actual combination. So we got a 4th year last year and an 8th year last year with it for 2 of the ROC or special races they had. And it just seems like every time we came here, we were a little bit better. And tonight, we just made some small changes, and it was about perfect. I mean, even in warm-ups, I could just feel we had something different than we've had in the past.
Now you're leading the points at Bridgeport. I've never been there. Is this track similar to that?
No, Bridgeport Speedway's 5/8 of a mile bank track. I mean, it's big, wide open racing. I mean, you're a lot more speed. You don't really get out of the throttle much for the corners there.
Needless to say, this has to be your biggest victory ever.
Yeah, this definitely is the biggest victory with the field of cars we had here, 67 cars if it was or whatever, and you know, biggest pay too for me. I mean, this is just awesome.
Yeah, you like these ROC events?
Oh, I have a blast running these ROC races. I mean, you run with a great caliber of drivers. I mean, guys from all over that get to come to one track to race, and it's kind of almost even ground for everybody because a lot of people don't run here weekly, you know. So it's definitely a fun deal to do that.
Tim McCready finished 3rd ahead of Dale Plank and Dwayne Howard, and Jimmy Phelps, who started the day in the pond, finished 6th.
Well, I was amazed that Jimmy Phelps' 98H was able to fire back up after being partially submerged.
So was I, and he received quite an ovation for his efforts. And to come from 9th with 9 laps to go in his heat race to make the final transfer spot for the feature event, pretty impressive.
Well, he even finished in the top 10 in the main event.
Now, coming up next here on Pit Pass, we're off the Motordrome Speedway, where on Friday night, the late models were in action for 100 laps. That and more when Pit Pass returns.
I had no idea what I was getting into when I agreed to drive the Aaron's Dream Machine. I mean, I knew Aaron's was a great company, how they help people get the things they need without needing credit at a guaranteed low price. Aaron's is just great. But working with Michael Waltrip, seriously, I don't understand him at all. He's a mess. Unbelievably disorganized and extremely immature. Never serious. He's like the opposite of me. This is going to be a very long season.